What's up, guys? It's Ben 2000 YGO, your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh superhero, and today, guys, I'm on Team FTK's channel. Stick around. Alright, so today's video is going to be a little bit different. You guys usually, if you guys have met me before, my name is Ben 10. I'm a casual guest here on the Team FTK channel, and today I decided I wanted to give you more of a discussion type video instead of my usual deck profiles like I normally do as my guest uploads. So, because on my channel, I don't just do YGO Pro replays and deck profiles, I also do discussions and like silly antics and things like that, you know, because I'm a bit of a goob and I don't mind, you know, being that. So today I'm going to be talking about side decking, and more specifically in the idea of when you're a casual player having to go up against competitive players, because there's a big misconception that, you know, and I think the RJB0 said it best, you know, when he was making videos. There's a big misconception by a lot of players that the casual players don't play to win and the competitive players don't play to have fun. Neither one of those is true, but there's that very big misconception. Now, so with that premise being set, let's go ahead and we'll talk about, you know, the tips for, you know, what you can do to side deck and be prepared if you're playing a rogue / casual deck and you're having to go up against, you know, meta decks who are clearly going to have a, shall we say, a stronger engine. Also, by the way, if I sound a little weird, I am suffering through allergies. It is springtime in Texas, and my allergies are going to go haywire. You've been warned. The first thing that you want to do is you want to analyze the format. Understanding whether you're in a tier 0 format or a, you know, rock, paper, scissors format, as I call it. And if you don't know what that is, a rock, paper, scissors format is where there are 3 big decks to worry about, and then everything else is just kind of, you know, a little sprinkle here of other things. But there's usually 3 big decks that you will see consistently at every event, including maybe your locals, because at least when I was going to a locals, when I had one, there were always competitive players there. So even casual players had to kind of up their game a little bit. So understanding the difference between those 2 formats is going to help you immensely, because if you're up against a tier 0 format and you know that you're going to come up against it, you might want to allocate more cards in the side deck, like say 5 or 6 slots to that particular matchup, versus maybe just a playset of a card that may specifically counteract one of the 3 kind of big decks you come across in a rock, paper, scissors format. The next thing you want to do is understand your personal deck's weaknesses. So for example, if you were playing a deck like, say, Mermails or Danger Thunder Dragon, well, one of the things that these 2 decks have in common is they're primarily mostly monsters. They don't have a lot of spells and traps, so understanding your deck's weaknesses may help you in the long run, because, like, for example, we are getting a new card like the Spell Mining Cave or something like that. I'll have a picture of it somewhere. But the point is that this card, for example, can pretty much put those first 2 decks stuck in, you know, you know, and then they'd be unable to move. So understanding your deck's weaknesses, you know, I mean, whereas like in the same vein of this part of the conversation, whereas like, you know, a Sky Striker deck or a you know, or any deck that plays any kind of back row hate is going to be able to counteract and continue making plays. So the next one is the next thing you want to know on this list is understanding those meta decks. So for example, if you're playing a rogue deck, casual deck, whatever you want to call it, you have to understand at least how the big decks that you're likely going to be coming across operate themselves. So for example, if I want to beat Salamangreat, I should probably know at least the basic combos that Salamangreat does. Once I understand that, I can better pinpoint what is the best thing to counteract within that combo to basically make the stacking, because that's what you're doing. You're building boards, right? So understanding what the key card is in that board building, once you knock that down, the whole wall crumbles. So that's the key thing there, is understanding the meta decks. You want to know the basic plays for that. All right. The next one on the list is the most effective counter cards. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this one up is because you may not necessarily be able to afford those counter cards. So a little bonus tip here, if you will, is understanding what the most effective cards are against the meta decks, the decks that you'll most come across. And then understanding, for example, if you're a budget player, what is your budget alternative? Like not everybody, like for example, not everybody can afford a meta deck. Like right now, if you're on the cheap end, the best you can do is maybe Salamangreats, and you're going to have to use what you previously owned, plus whatever you get out of the structure deck. If that's all you got, that's all you got. And you're going to have to learn, okay, well, what do I have that is going to benefit, me assistant to counteract those decks. So learning what those most effective cards, and then learning like other cards that may do something similar or the same thing, really. Like for example, if hypothetical situation, if Fiendish Chain, I know it's an old negator, but bear with me here. If Fiendish Chain was the most effective monster negation trap available, right? What would be the next best alternative, right? So you would play something like Breakthrough Skill or Memory Loss or whatever. These other budgety-esque trap cards that negate monster effects. There you go. The next thing you'll want is to know that the best cards that you would be to side against them is going to be understanding. This is kind of harking back to the previous one, is understanding what the best cards are against these decks, and then figuring out what is the best, I should say, what are the best cards that are counters to them but mesh with you. So for example, if you're playing Thunder Dragons and you're wanting to have a good card that's powerful against Sky Strikers, you're probably not going to play like Sacred Village of the Spellcasters, right? But if you're playing, for example, Altergeist, sorry. Altergeist kind of pops up, and that's in my knee-jerk reaction. Like the new Spell Counter structure deck, which is probably the more likely card or deck you'll be playing, especially if you're a casual or budget player like myself. You might play Sacred Village of the Spellcasters as your side against Sky Strikers, because once you activate your field spell, they're done. They're like, oh, well, I lose. Because they don't have any spellcasters, and, game over. So that's another thing you're going to have to figure out, is like, for example, I'm a dinosaur player right now. So, I wouldn't, if I was up against Sky Strikers, maybe trying to build make Materia Beast may not necessarily be the best option for me. Maybe the best way for me to out Sky Striker might be to, play like some normal dinosaurs, because they can't be widow anchored. Just as an example. There's multiple routes you could take, but you get the idea. So the last one, like just to reiterate, is understanding the best cards that mesh with your deck. And I think that is all I have for you guys today. This is my my tips for learning how to side. If there's any tips that I probably forgot that you guys would like to add to it, make sure you leave that in the comments below. I bet you all the members of Team FTK and myself will be, just sprinkling through and taking a little looky-loo at what you guys come up with. And yeah, I've been 2000 YGO. Please make sure that you subscribe to Team FTK. And make sure that you subscribe to me, because I'm in a race with another YouTuber named YuGiOh Pro, and we are like gaining on him over there, guys. He's at like 360 something, and I'm at like 350 something right now as I'm making this video. So we are like neck and neck in the races to 500, and the winner gets to put their video on the loser's channel. So so I could use all the help I could get. So if you guys want to subscribe to me over there, that would be greatly appreciated. Anyway, guys, I'm Ben 2000 YGO, your friendly neighborhood Yu-Gi-Oh superhero, and I will see you guys next time. Peace!